good evening, or good early morning. This is Full Transparency Trading, and I'm your host, Sebastian. Again, we are in our 26-week challenge, and we're finally through the first month. Actually, my birthday is going to be the first month exactly. So, Wednesday. Today is Monday, 2 a.m., and I'm up here looking at my sheet. Today's a big reveal. We want to see how we did in our first month. Our starting balance was $200, and our in profit total that we were looking for was $600. We're going to reveal right now what we got. So, drum roll, please. Let me go ahead over here. And we made out after our first month with $640.57. As you can see, that negative 43. I will show you what that means in just a minute. But we have completely squashed our goal that we set out to go, which was $600. We are officially at the $600 mark now. And honestly, we did that without much resistance. I didn't trade all the days. I think I traded like 1-2 weeks at a time or whatever the case was of this actual 4-month period. I definitely didn't trade every day. I think I traded 2-3 times a week maybe. And that's just executing at a high clip, recognizing patterns. And I will go ahead and tell you right now that my favorite stock to trade during my 20 sorry, I have a little cold right now, by the way, so I got my mute button on standby just in case I have to block it or cough or sneeze. My favorite stock to trade for my first month of trading has been Meta. I found Meta as my baby because I was trading QQQ for the first week, and it was successful. However, when you're looking at 100 stocks versus a single stock, it is so much easier, and then I recognize some patterns, which I'll get to shortly. But this is actually an update on the 26-week challenge, as well as a quick tip video for the things that I learned on the journey so far. And let's get into it. So, like I said, full transparency, we're at $640.57. My final trade of last week was $15. So it's not like every single day was a banger, $100 here, $100 there. It was usually like I'd put up 60 and I'd bring in 26, I'd bring in 30, I'd bring in 20, I'd bring in 16, I'd bring in 7 or whatever the case was, but you're allowed to do 3 trades a day. Well, not allowed, but you should try to stick to the 3 trades a day. You don't want to overtrade. So even though I'm not trading every single day, like I do have the opportunity to have 3 trades a day, and then you're trying to win each of those trades, so you want to have the best possible trade setups. And I will start looking at that and going over that now, and then I'll tell you why I can actually take out $200, but I'm not going to do that, and I'll get to that in a minute. First, we're going to go to the 20-day, because this is pretty much where I made the brunt of my money. Let's put up QQQ for just a second. This is my QQQ chart. This is what I started with. As you can see, QQQ over the 4-hour period, we've had some big ups and big downs, and kind of got range bound for a little bit. Let's go to the 1 hour so that you can see it a little bit better. We got range bound down here for quite a bit, and it was like a $5 move area, but really it was more like a $2 to $3 move area every single day. So that's why I got out of QQQ and switched over. At first I was looking at Apple, so I do have one trade from Apple that went well. That was actually a mistake trade, but don't worry about that. Then I looked at Meta, and Meta was forming a pattern that I just kept seeing consistently. As you can see on this 20-day over here on the left, as I zoom in, it was consistently in this 300 to 306 area, and then finally up to like 310. So once I saw this pattern forming again and again and again, I was like, oh, there's some predictability here. I can get into some really good trades, and that's what I did. I didn't recognize the pattern until I was, I think, all the way over here. Yeah, on this Thursday. So I missed this big one here, and I missed all the ones prior to that. I was trading QQQ and other things. So then let's get into the pattern. So we hop in here, and I'm seeing like the 294 going up. Ignored that. That was from like a massive fall and a gap down and then another fall. Then it started pulling back up. But either way, I was seeing it. I'm like, all right, cool. It goes all the way down. It comes back into this like 300 area. Excuse me. Okay, sorry, I did the cough up there. So we start here on this Friday where we figured out the little pattern that was going on. It finally breaks through in the early morning, and I'm like, all right, cool. We're at a new level at this 300. We've kind of been up here before, so I was looking forward to that shooting up. You know how I play it. I usually play the 10 a.m. But when I saw the massive move off 9, I went ahead and hopped in at the 9 EMA, rode that up at 9:30, and then up here where it started to reverse is where I hopped out, not knowing that it was going to stay up there for a little. I'm glad I hopped out though, because as you can see, it came all the way down here and then slowly rose back up, ending above the line. but then coming here and going to the reversal at 11 o'clock. So that was that day. That was a great trade. 1 hour of straight movement. Usually I'll try to stick in the trade for about an hour, because I feel like each hour presents a whole different situation. The 15-minute candles, if like you're really trying to do like a quick scalp and you don't have much time, the 15-minute candles are good for that. You find your candle that's moving right where you want it to move, get your dollar or whatever action, get in, get out. Here didn't trade. Another day didn't trade. Why didn't I trade these days? Let me zoom in. I didn't trade these days because the market was incredibly choppy. And if I was quick scalping, I think I got one quick scalp on this day here. But if I was quick scalping, then I'd hop in there. But these weren't fitting into my 1 hour plans. They weren't breaking above the $300 area or anything like that. They were just kind of sitting in that in-between zone, and I don't really feel like playing that. Here was even worse. You get the down, you get the massive up at 10 o'clock. I did miss that. Was disappointed in the fact that I missed that. And then I continued on, but good trade days there. And now we start to get into the pattern where I finally recognize the pattern. So we're moving this way. It's choppy, it's choppy, it's choppy. We fall down unexpectedly. Fall all the way down here. I did not get in on that either, but that giant wick, you see, that's fine. Now this is where I recognize the pattern. I'm like, boom, this is happening. I miss it too. This right here, I get 8 up on my main account for $400 this day. But then this is when I look back and I'm like, oh snap, a pattern. 10 o'clock all the way up. It's going from $298, really $300 at this line here, because that's where it's starting at 10 o'clock, going up to about $306, coming back down. Go back up, shot through, wasn't worried about that. But when we broke this $306 again, I hopped into the puts, and I rode the puts down until about 11 or 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock, I got out. It did fall more. I would have made a lot more, but that was fine. Okay, the next day, we're back at that 300 or whatever. We come down there, and I'm like, all right, cool. I hopped on this 930 little rocket ship, rode it up to about 10. Once we hit that line of 306, I got out immediately because we did start falling very fast, as you can see. Falling back into that zone, done for the rest of the day. Like I said, I'm usually done between 11 and 12 o'clock with my trading for the day. We get into the next one. You have this massive fall. So it starts up here, which is beautiful. I love that it came up there. I didn't get in there. I got in once we got the bounce off here. So I actually got in before we switched to that candle, like 954, 955. Rode this all the way down. Beautiful $5 drop. Great trade at 10 o'clock. The 10 o'clock hour. Got out at exactly, I think 10:53, 10:50 to 10:57 on that one. As you can see, choppy for the rest of the day, and this pattern kept forming over and over and over again. It was actually driving me crazy because I was trying to tell people about the pattern, and I don't think anyone could really recognize what I was talking about, because I don't think a lot of people look at the charts like that. But there are these patterns that sometimes form to make it a lot easier on you when you're trading. So boom, we come down to the 300 again. Once we hit that 300 line, I don't care what time it was, I got into my trade. It did shoot down here or whatever. So at first I started out negative, but I didn't fall below my 10% at the time. And I hopped in, stayed there, boom, rode that up. It shot up here. When it started falling back down, I went ahead and hopped out at about the 303 because it didn't break. It had it gone all the way up, I would have stayed in. It started to break down and I didn't want to lose my money, so I went ahead and took profit on this day early. Come to find out, it did run up to the $306 and then started to push down, but that's fine. I'm perfectly fine one of those days. In the pre-market on this day, Thursday, we start all the way up here, so I already know where the market's going. It's got to be at this point very predictive. Thursday, it comes on down, and when the 9:30 happens, I hop into the trade immediately. It pushes down, which I'm glad I did because 10 o'clock didn't change anything. I did think that 10 o'clock was going to change here, and I hopped in a different trade to go up, but it kind of stayed down. When I saw that it was pushing down some more, I thought maybe it was going to fall off, so I went ahead and hopped out of that trade, took my small loss on the second trade. Big win, small loss, and that's kind of the name of the game, is a big win, small loss. And then it started pushing back up. So it doesn't always push back up. Sometimes it gets choppy. This particular day it pushed all the way back up, came over here, pushed all the way down. Now I knew that Friday was going up, but here's where I went wrong. I played Friday on my main account and I lost like $600. I was playing the pushback down. So when we hit 306, I got into a trade. The trade ran up 307, and I'm looking across here and I'm like, okay, that's just even with where this was at 307.40 and some change. Even when it went up to 308, I stayed in the trade because I'm looking at this over here on the 1 hour scale, and I'm like, that's about even. Now at this point, I was down probably like 100, 150, right? And I said, you know what? I'm gonna knock out my stop. Well, at this point, I was down, and I knocked out my stop loss, and I was like, we'll just hold and wait to see what the day brings, because it's been doing this pattern all week. Now, then on that particular day, there was news. So what is this? Friday the 10th? No, this is Friday the 13th. I'm sorry. Yeah, this is Friday the 13th. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. Correction. This is Friday the 8th, or whatever the case is. I think it's the 8th, yeah. So then we go ahead and we're going to open up our news so you can see that. Boop. Open up the internet so you can see the news. So as you can see, 10.4, the Google Pixel came out. These are the financial calendar things. There are some things that actually aren't in here. Tesla's also on the 18th. 10.6 was non-farm, so we had a lot of movement that day. So that was 10.6 then. So non-farm hit 10.6, rocketed this up, jacked me all the way up. I lost like $600 holding all day long. Did not know that non-farm was coming until it was already out. By then it was already too late. We shoot up here, you know, and I'm just like kind of hoping for a retracement. Hope is not a strategy. I'll tell you that right now. Hope in this game is not a strategy. If you're down, get the hell out. So my regular account, I didn't trade that day. Played non-farm in here, thinking that it was going to bounce down at this point. It didn't. Came up here. Thought I had sneezed, but didn't. So it came up here, gap down, and so you're thinking like maybe it's going to push back down or whatever, but you kind of have to wait. As you can see, it broke down here at the 23 MA and shot up like a rocket. So that was an L for me. Didn't get any trades in on this day. Took the time off, gapped up, ran up some more. Didn't get any trades in on this day. All right. You know, at this point, I'm not trusting too much when to get in. As you can see, there's some good moves, but nothing so great that I had to get into. Then we get up here to the 330. We get this perfect line here, and we start pushing down. And now I'm starting to trade again. So now I'm like, all right, this is actually a day where I got in at right here to push down. You know, and didn't push down for that hour, but I held and then started to push down here, and it was good. So we break through that level there, and then on Friday get a nice little massive spike up to right here, and I realized that we're going down again. So then we get the massive push down here, rode all of those until about 1 o'clock, and then at 1 o'clock, as you can see, we're all the way down here. Massive drop from 324 all the way to 313. You're talking about $11 that it dropped down. That was such a good day. This is why you have your discipline and set yourself up for these really, really good days when you're trading. You know, so I did that on the main account, and then that's the end of the week. That was Friday the 13th. So now we're at $640. And now why I'm not going to take out the $200 that I'm allowed to take out now. One, because I want to move up to another challenge tier. I'm going to go ahead and switch on over from the $200 tier to the $500, because I felt like the $200 tier, though it was challenging some days, I actually met my quotas pretty easily with my trading strategies and just being able to read and execute at a decent clip. So I do want to push a little harder. Going from $20 a day to $50 a day, I feel like is a much larger challenge. I feel like that's a bar that I will more often than not fall below than go above, and then I'll just have my really good days to balance it out. And then I also want to get to that $1,500 mark from the $500 mark, and I'll show you why we're going to be at $500 in just a moment here. We're going to be just a little bit over $500 when we start this challenge, but that's what I want to do. I want to continue on forward, as in starting over from the 26-week challenge at the $500 mark. Now that I've made my way up to 500 from 200, and I know how steadily I can do that, I want to push. You know, I always want to push myself, and that should be like the goal. Continue moving the goalposts. But a few tips that I learned in the market. Number one, patience in this market. When to enter your next trade. You want to get as many A+ trades as possible, and you don't have to trade every day. And so by getting A+ trades, it really helps you get that point where you don't have to trade every single day to make your trades. Excuse me.